Hi, it's Pete the Bumbling Modeler back again. What we're going to play with today is a bit of light weathering just to highlight some of the details on this and generally getting ready to put a matte coat on it so we can finally finish this thing, which has been lingering on for far too long as a short model. What I've done off camera is the seats I've painted and then dry brushed with a yellow colour, so it's painted as sort of Tamiya reddish brown, and I've used this Abteilung yellow just to highlight it. Now as I'm talking, hopefully you will see on the screen before and after shot of these two seats. I'm all in the way of the camera, so you can see what effect the dry brushing has, but it just sort of makes natural light and shadow on it. So if I've got it right, you'll see that somewhere up in this corner. If I haven't, you won't. So sorry about that. I believe Abteilung paints have changed the name now. They still exist, but I think they're just AK oils now. But they have got a really fine pigment, so for this sort of job, they are ideal. If you buy a normal cheap oil paint, it's quite gritty. This stuff tends not to be. Okay, so that's already done, so no need to discuss that. Let's put that out of the way so we don't lose them. I've glued the steering wheel onto the dashboard ready to go in, and you can't really see it, but the dials have got a little wash of black paint to simulate dials, but you can see so little of it, it doesn't really matter with that one. Somewhere I've got a gear lever I've got to glue in, which I've lost, which we'll find that, so we'll do that before it goes together. Oh, there's a gear lever, so that needs to be glued in. So it's on with the weathering. So the first thing I want to do is put a clay wash, which is this grimy stuff, on top of this, mainly because I want it to dry. So we're going to put it on, rub off the surface so the highlights are slightly lighter. I've tested it inside and it is slightly darker than this outer finish. So I want to do that first so we can get it to dry, then we can start to rub it off later on. So I'll just pause a little bit while I get myself prepped for that, and then we'll crack on. Okay, so we're ready to go now. I've mounted the canvas tilt on a coffee stirrer with a bit of white tack because you don't want to get any fingerprints in this, but you need to cover the whole lot. I've decanted that grime wash into a Petri dish. If you look on Amazon and eBay, you find a lot of people selling lab glassware. Whether they're nicking it from labs, I don't know. But if you look up a glass Petri dish, you get these little dishes like that, which are ideal for this job because they're inert to all chemicals and you wash them out. So what we want to do with this is just get a flat brush and just coat the whole, it looks a bit drastic, coat the whole thing in this wash. It's a water-based wash, so it won't affect anything providing all your paints are dry before you've started. And in theory, it just wipes off. It'll wipe off less on this because it's a matte finish, but you can sort of see the effect is starting already. It's gathering up into the shadows, so we want to wipe most of it off when we're finished. We just want to keep it in the recesses so it just highlights that sort of area. But if you don't cover the whole lot, one clean bit will look pants. You're sort of blending it in when you've gone. So everything covered. Yeah. Oh, oops, missed a bit there. And that's got a bit too much on, so we can take some of that off. We're going for covered, not drowned. And hopefully I'm not off camera on that, am I? Make a little so okay, that's evenly covered all over. Let's say it's a water-based thing, so it'll wash off. The trick with this now is to let it dry thoroughly, because if you have any moisture at all, when you come to wipe it, you'll get streaks. And because it's a water-based thing and it's quite runny, I would leave it in a direction it normally sits, so anything runs downhill, so you get a natural streaking rather than unnatural sort of lines across it. So that'll all streak down. By the time we've done the next bit, that'll all be dry, so we're good to go. I'll just do that for now. I'll wash out properly later. And again, it doesn't ever set this, so it's not a big panic to wash out brushes and things. So that's that done. Easy peasy. Right. So we can put product 1 and 2 out of the way. We've used those. The other thing I've done off camera is I've used this latex mask again, just to recover the headlight and the 2 little side lights, because in my eagerness to see how it looked, I peeled it off last time, but when we put the matte coat on, we want them to stay glossy, so we'll do that. We've covered them again. Nothing really to see because we've seen it before, so we can put that to one side. Now, I don't know if you pick up on camera, but this side of the truck looks relatively bland. You can't really pick out any detail, although there's a lot of detail on the kit. So what I've done on this side in advance, so you can sort of see the effect, is I've put a little pin wash. Let's try and brighten this light a bit, actually. It might come better then. I've put a pin wash around all these little bits of raised detail and around the door shut lines underneath the door there, so you get a shadow, and just around these louvers, just so they stand out and down this panel line. That's fine, except for the door shut lines here are a bit too shallow to accept the oil wash we're going to put in, because you put the oil wash on and wipe it off. Because it's shallow, that doesn't really work. So I've had to rescribe that, which I wouldn't do at this stage. I'd normally do that before I painted, because I'm bound to slip and scratch. And what I've used for a scriber is one of these UMM scribers. Now, I had to buy this from America. I bought 2 of them, and then I got caught by customs, and by the time I paid the customs and the Royal Mail thing charge, I'm in the UK, sorry if you didn't know, it was dearer than the scribers, but for me they're worth it. Could I recommend these to you? Probably not, because it's very much about personal taste. For me, these are ideal. They fit nicely in my hand, and I've got a bit of control over them. But scribing's are very much a personal choice, and this is what works for me. After trying half a dozen different scribers, these are the ones that work for me. Because the hassle of importing from America, I don't know. I like them. I've got relatively small hands. They fit comfortably in my hand and then control them. That doesn't mean they're ideal for you. So if I had to say, would I buy these again? Yes. Would I have said, should you buy them? You shouldn't, but you might want to. It's that sort of thing. But what we'll have to do to try and get a panel wash in, and I don't like these because you push them as well rather than pull, is find out where the panel line may be, which seems to follow that down, and just try and reinstate that. This one goes with semaphores. It's not easy. Try and reinstate that door shut line. So when we put a wash in there, as gently as you go, as we put a wash in there, it's got something to cling to. So that's that bit done. Might not be strictly speaking right. This one's easier to see, and we just need to not push too hard and just feel our way around, just to give it somewhere for that to bite. Otherwise our wash doesn't sit in the line very well. Ooh, and then you slip like that. But I think I've got away. Well, I haven't got away with it. This way you should do it in advance, so you can sort out these problems before you paint. But that'll be easily hidden later on. I'm not overly worried about that little slip. And that snapping noise is just my fingernail bending. That's not the plastic breaking, don't worry. I think that's all I'm going to do with that. I think that's enough to take a wash. I'm going to do much more. I'm not going to make a right mess of it. Let's just see it. That's got it. Just get an old paintbrush just to. It looks a mess now, but it'll all work out in the end. So. Close enough. And then this one is a flat line, so it's relatively simple. Don't push too hard. So if you're going to buy this kit, do this straight away. Don't do it after you've painted it. But I got a bit excited and carried away with this one when it arrived and just wanted to get it built. So that's up those panel lines deep enough to take a wash. That one's a bit accurate. So it'll end up like this with a dark line in it. So I'll just get myself prepped for the next bit and then we're on. Why aren't you working all of a sudden? Hi again. So about 10 minutes has elapsed. So that this clay wash now is completely dry. I'm wearing a glove because it's a really warm day here and any moisture will affect that. It'll need to be sealed in with a matte varnish later on, but if I get a bit of moisture on my hands through sweat, it's going to leave a fingerprint on it. That's why we're wearing that. So now we've got that evenly coated, what we need to do is start to gently buff it, and it should reveal the highlights because that will wipe it off the high areas, and anywhere there's recesses, that darker wash will stay in there. I don't know if you're picking that up actually, but so it's really highlighting the creases around here, and the ribs inside are looking a bit more bleached out where we're rubbing that off. So you are getting this. It's a quick and easy way of having highlighted effects, to be honest. You can see it's starting to come off on the cloth. If I wetted this, it'd come off a lot faster. I don't particularly want to get it off that quick in this one. And if I really concentrate on that corner, sort of highlight the corner, and it gets darker into the recesses. So that's the sort of game with that. It's a simple, quick way of adding a bit of depth to it, and it's sort of really nice to be getting a darker effect round these panels here. Now I may go back and put a pin wash on those after it's had a satin varnish on it, but it does need a satin and a matte varnish on it to seal all this in before you put any other product on it. But you're starting to see the way it's really bringing out the creases in it. So you're getting the highlighted areas and a bit of depth to it, which is all we want. We don't want to drastically change it. We just want to end up with the shadows looking a bit darker and the high spots looking a bit lighter, rather like we did when we pre-washed the main body. So we just polish that off. It's not taking huge amounts off. That front's always going to look a bit scabby and suspect, but that top edge there, we can really bring a highlight out in that. This edge we can bring out. So it probably will end up having a, it won't be a black wash. I'll make a brownish wash out of oils on this to really bring out some of the creases and folds. But that's done what we want quite easily. So you're starting to see the shadows and the high spots and the highlights. So if we to chuck that on the lorry, it looks a bit better when it's against a bit of colour. You can start to see some of the texture coming out on that and some of the patterning. So that, I don't think we need much more than that. Often a coat of satin varnish, as I say, to bring that out. So that's what we've done there. The oil wash needs another couple of minutes just to harden up properly. So I'll leave that for another minute or two. Then we'll start to tidy that up. Then we're ready. We'll do a satin coat. Then we'll glue in things like that. Attach the wheel on the top. No, we probably have the wheel on the top. No, we'll attach the wheel after the satin coat, so that tyre remains with a bit of gloss, because we're not going to gloss this lower half. And while you were gone, I glued in the seats just because I could, and the gear lever, so it's all ready to go together. So hopefully by the end of this video, you'll see it with a satin coat on it. And then once the satin's on, we can put the windows in because we won't ruin them. Say satin, it's probably a matte. And then, yeah, after that, we're going to make a little base for it and we'll finally finish it. It seems to have dragged on for a long time. So if you're watching, thanks for your patience. But I'll be back in a minute when that oil's dried off a bit more, and then we can do that final bit of highlighting. Okay, we've got up to a point where that oil's dry enough to start playing with. So what I'm going to be using is the odorless thinners. Don't use white spirits, that's a bit harsh, but I normally use artists' odorless thinners because it's a lot cheaper than buying a bespoke one. But for the life of me, I can't find my bottle of that, so I've nipped out to buy this the other day. It's all much for muchness. It's just when you buy a model one, it's twice the price of buying an artist one, and it's the same grade stuff. So what we need to do is get our cotton bud, dip that in that, and then there's a bit of paper towel. Get 90% of that off. You want it damp, you don't want it wet. You just want it so it can attack the oils on the surface. So areas like this grill, we want the recesses to stay dark, but we don't want the top of the grill. So we're just going to go down and just gently lift it off the surface. And you can see a faint stain in there. You're not taking a great deal off, but you're just taking it off the top of it. So you see the darkness in the grill, but the upper grill stay the RAF blue. So that's the sort of game we're playing. So that's just about done on that. Round the doors, we need to tidy up where it splurges. So just gently wipe it over the surface and say it'll take the door handle. We'll keep it as it is actually, and that can stay. But you don't want any big blobs of it. You just want around the bonnet here. You can see where I've dabbed it in, it's run over the surface. So we just do that. It'll take it off the surface and just leave it in that recessed panel line. So it highlights the line, but it doesn't. You end up with the depth still. So that's. So yeah, I might have to. No, it's all right. Talking to myself now. That's probably all we need to do on that, if I'm honest. For that bit, a little bit down here, a bit too deep. So we can now pick out the radiator. Hang on, that was someone at the door. I'll be back in a minute. Yeah, sorry about that. I had to sign for a parcel. So, Mucky, you haven't noticed the time because I paused the whole thing. So, yeah, we've highlighted that little grill so it looks a bit deeper. Wipe the excess off the door so you get that panel line. You still see it in the louvers. Now we've got the other little bits. So, where we put a bit of wash around these features on the side, what I want to do really now is play that back a bit and just streak that down. Don't forget everything's going to run downhill, so we'll just reactivate that with a bit of white spirits. And that should, it's not, if we'd done this on a gloss coat, it would come out a bit better, to be honest. But what we want to do now is just wipe off the excess going down, so any streaks come downhill rather than up. So we've still got the highlighting around that, but it's softening it away. And when it's wet, we can actually put a bit more panel liner on if we want. So we can just put that on. And then just get our cotton bud and just so there's still actual. Oh, I've got me. I haven't put my glove on, by the way. So I might get fingerprints everywhere. This is what happens when you leave. You still get the panel actuation, but accentuation. Sorry, but we should be getting streaks just down it, and we can highlight that a bit more. And same on this. When they dry back quite faint anyway, so it's not the end of the world. And again, once it's a bit damp, cotton bud, and just we should be getting some vertical streaking on that. And yeah, we'll soften this edge. You'll never see that because the wheel's there, but we will soften it up a bit. That was just to add a bit of shadow behind the wheel, so that'll soften that behind it. And where we've come a bit onto the body shell there, we'll just get that, polish that bit off. If it was on a gloss coat, that wouldn't have been the same sort of issue. Right, so as that white spirits dries, odorless thinners dries, they'll fade back anyway, so we'll just get a hint of things around there rather than the actual dramatic effect. Just do a bit on the wheels to highlight those, so we don't want them black, we just want that sort of thing where you're just hinting at something rather than. So the black staying in all the recesses, but we're just taking it off the top just to give it a bit more of a three-dimensional look, really. Hopefully I'm on camera. If I work down here, work better for when we zoom in, when we for edits. So yeah, might have to work on them a bit more in a minute, but you can see we're taking some of the black off with that, which is what we want. We just want a hint of the black on there, just to give it some sort of depth. Really low on this for the trowel. It's gripping quite well because it's a matte paint. So normally you do it on a semi-gloss or a gloss, but I didn't want to gloss it and degloss it because I am aware this is a simple model that's gone on for weeks in terms of viewing, not that long in terms of manufacture, to be honest. So I'll just do that. That's a lower chassis, then we'll just let that dry off. This one we didn't put that much on to start with, but we'll just try and take it off the surface to add to the highlighting. So it's just catching in the recesses in there. Am I on camera still? I think so. Oh, I'll just hit that thing again. Right, so that's that. She's drying off. In an hour or so, it'll be ready for a matte coat. The only other thing I want to do before the matte coat is, well, two things actually, is try this Real Colours marker pen. I've picked up a model show at Eastbourne at the weekend, so I want to paint the handle this wood-based colour. Then I'll go over with a sort of darkish brown oil to try and put some wood grain in it. So I'll just switch back off and get myself prepared for this. Sorry, so okay, back with you. I just wanted to put a glove on so I don't risk smudging that rather soft oil. But as it's drying now, you can see you're picking out that detail, but it's not in your face and black and standing out as it was before. So get rid of that, and then we'll try our paint marker. It seems to flow quite nicely, so let's see what we can do. Ooh, okay. Officially, I quite like this, and this is going on quite nicely. That's a very pinky colour at the moment, but don't forget we are going to put a brown oil over that. This is just a base coat. I like this then. Okay, happy with that, and I'm happy with that as a product actually. I did buy some Galleria paint markers. I wonder if I've got them around. I might have thrown them in the bin. Oh, there they are. I bought some of these for doing metallics, and to be honest, I wouldn't waste your money. These are awful. If you look at these ones, I know it's different colour. It's a really hard fibrous tip, so it just scratches on, and it either seems to flood the component or doesn't. This one seems to have a really soft, almost brush tip. You can see it bending there, and it's a lot more controllable and easy to use. So yeah, if you were going to buy paint pens, which seems to be the colour trend, the AK ones are really nice to use. The Galleria ones, to be honest, I wouldn't waste your money. Where I'm using them now is I'm just flooding the paint out of it and putting it on with a paintbrush, because they are pretty second rate compared to those. So that's the first time I've used one of them in anger, other than dotting a bit of silver onto some bolts on a motorbike engine, and I really like them. I'll be using them again for that sort of detailed painting that saves washing a brush. So we're up to the point now where we've got ourselves a Tilly with highlighted detail, bit of detail painting, seats in. It just needs a, now it doesn't just need a matte coat. That's the other thing we need to do quickly, is put a fuel stain on, just to add anything you can do to, if it's one colour, to stop that colour being bland is worth doing. So if I was to get a bit of this and flood that area here with the odorless thinners, and then get a little bit of this, probably needs a bit of a shake up actually, it looks a bit washy. It's an oil and fuel stain, but it'll do for petrol and grime stains, because once you spill petrol down the side of something, and dust clings to it, it goes quite grimy, so it'll work for what we're doing. It's only a bit of show really in it. So I'll just put a bit in here. I got a bit too much odorless on that. It's running around the wheel arch, but that's yes, it'll just add a subtle bit of a stain, as though it's been filled with a jerry can and a funnel, which it probably was rather than a petrol pump. So you're getting this grimy stain down the side. Just lift a little bit of that off where it's gone too far. Manipulate around till you get what you want. It's a bit less in the bottom. Fill in that little gap. Let it run over there, as you've been really careless. And you're getting that. It's not a massive stain, it's just giving that every little bit you do adds a little bit of character. So that's that done. I need to wash out some brushes, let all that harden up. And then we can give it a coat of matte paint, assemble the whole truck. I'll glue this in later on. Once the matte's dry, windows in, dashboard in, finally put the body on that permanently, and we've got a Tilly. I'll just show you that quickly once it's all done, rather than put another video up. That'll just be a quick burst, and then we'll make a little base for it out of a bit of cement and MDF, and then it's a finish at last. So anyone who has watched it, good on you for sticking with me. It's gone on forever, but I'm learning about YouTube as fast as I'm talking really, so I know I'm overdoing things, and I know where to pin back on the next model which I build, which I'll probably go out and buy this afternoon while the white spirits is drying. So I'm good to go as soon as this is over on video number 2. Okay, thanks for watching so far, and hope to see you again. Bye. Hello again. So that's the Tilly just about finished. There's a little bit of detail painting to do on the shovel. I regret not putting a black marker around the windscreen. It looks all silvery and horrible. But that's as done as it's going to be. The next thing will be making a base for it, really. So I'll just give it a rotate on the stand. There's a mark there on the A, I've just seen. So you can see how it turned out. But overall, I'm quite happy with that. It was more of a vehicle for me to play with YouTube than to do anything about modelling. I might have to ping that windscreen out and do something about it. That does look awful. But in general, she's done and dusted. So the next time you see it, we'll be making a little concrete base for it to stand on. Then that's finished. Then I'll try and do something that's a little bit more short and concise, because at the moment I'm not happy with the length of these. It must be boring anyone who's watching it rigid. But thanks for sticking with me if you have, and I'll see you again in around a week with a base, and then we'll call this one done. So thanks for watching, and take care.